Due to the recent web event Genshin decided to drop out of nowhere, I decided it was probably high time I threw my hat into the ring, so to speak, and make a video on the Three Moon Sisters. Of course, there were a couple of reasons I held off so long on making this video, but it mostly just boils down to I never felt like I had enough information on the Three Moon Sisters to make a whole video on it. The Three Moon Sisters are a mystery, a puzzle. Making this video always felt like trying to complete a puzzle with missing pieces. And honestly, I do still feel that way. Even though I have some theories that I think have some merit, I just want to say that I don't have all the puzzle pieces yet. So everything in this video is subject to change as we get more and more information. With that being said, the best place to start is with the sisters themselves. So let's get into it. The Three Moon Sisters, or the Three Moon Goddesses, Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, were a trinity of goddesses who existed in Teyvat, perhaps even before the primordial one. From their lunar palace, the sisters, each representing one moon, would drive their lunar chariot across the sky. The sisters wove love and passion into the lands of Teyvat, and ultimately, according to legend, the sisters fell in love with the morning stars. The love the sisters had for the stars was said to be equal to the affection held between the sisters. It is said that the Moon Sisters bore witness to a union between a sealing ancestor and a traveler from afar. Some say it's this act that caused calamity to befall the world. The lovers were exiled and attempted to flee, but Celestia caught up with them, forcing the lovers to be separated and their memories wiped. The Seelie were said to wither into the forms we see today out of heartbreak. Eventually, due to the calamity, the Sun Chariot, which was piloted by the stars the sisters were supposedly in love with, crashed into the earth, creating the chasm and Dunyun ruins in the process. From here, the legends diverge. In some tellings, the sisters turned on one another, killing each other in response to the calamity. And yet, in other legends, only two of the sisters die, the third presumably being the moon we see today. And with the web event, a new legend has been brought into focus. The idea that with each sister that died, their death corresponded to a tragedy in Teyvat's history. It's entirely likely, in my opinion, that each legend holds a piece of the truth in regards to the sisters. But for now, let's look at the most recent prophecy in more depth for a moment. It is said the eternal moon shattered, throwing the heavens and earth into chaos, represented by a great flood. This great flood does happen in Teyvat's history. It is the cause of the destruction of the first human civilizations on Teyvat. According to some sources, it is humanity's fault for the flood, as they realized that though they were prosperous under the rule of Celestia, they were stuck in a cyclical cycle with no true free will, and so they attempted to fight against this fate. In response, it is said that Celestia caused a flood to swallow Teyvat, and caused the humans who had survived the flood to lose all of their wisdom, becoming little better than animals. If this is true, it's no wonder that this moon was that of eternity, and perhaps the reason for its shattering was the humans who attempted to revolt against Celestia. This has some interesting parallels with the Inazuma Archon quest, a land locked away behind the curtain of eternity, never progressing, slowly decaying, as even eternity cannot stop time. The second moon was the iridescent moon. This moon shattered, allowing a crimson shadow to fall into the abyssal sea. This moon many are equating with the Crimson Moon dynasty in Conria, and I can see this to a certain extent. Perhaps the fall of this moon is related to whatever happened that caused the dynasties in Conria to shift. Conria, we know, is an incredibly old nation, one that could have even predated the Flood, as they go to war with Enconomia over the possession of the Book of Sun and Moon. I think there's more we need to uncover exactly about this second moon and her subsequent fall. As we know, Conria was performing experiments on Outlanders, though to what exact end remains uncertain. Could these experiments have something to do with the moon goddess? Or perhaps could the experiments have to do with the Crimson Shadow which dropped into the abyss? The third moon, or the frost moon, was said to cause nations to fall to ruin when it ceased to turn. The wording here is interesting, because ceasing to turn doesn't mean a shattering like what happened to the other two sisters, but rather simply that the moon does not shift phases. The ruin of nations could also be a reference to the Cataclysm 500 years ago, and the fall of Conria, as many of the nations of Tevat experienced calamities, and the nation of Conria was wiped off the map for sins against Celestia. As mentioned in the previous legend, it seems as if two sisters did die and the third is missing in action. One legend states that it's the corpse of one of the sisters that hangs in the sky, but I believe there's a more interesting theory. If we assume that the calamity that befell Conria is when the third moon sister fell, then it leads to some interesting speculation on our favorite traveling companion, and sometimes emergency food, Paimon. Now, the idea that Paimon is related to Celestia or the Three Moon Sisters is not a new theory by any means. Her character design is littered with foreshadowing of her involvement with Celestia or the Three Moon Sisters. From the moon and star motifs that are a constant appearance around her, to the Celtic knot that can be seen on her character model, all of it indicates that Paimon has strong connections with the Three Moon Sisters. However, I want to take it a step further. I believe there's a good chance that Paimon is the Frost Moon sister. The catastrophe of Conria was devastating, but it was also known that the leadership of the Eclipse dynasty had done something against the rules of Tevat. With their fascination with the moons, perhaps the leaders of Conria attempted to use the Frost Moon sister for her power, or perhaps the Frost Moon sister was an active participant in the experiments perpetuated by Conria. But either way, by some means, the Frost Moon fell at the end of the Cataclysm. It's reasonable to assume that the Moon Sister would lose much of her power, perhaps even her memories. And maybe, just like us as the Traveler, the Moon Sister was put in a sort of stasis, a sort of sleep. And when she woke up, she was sucked out to sea, and we're the ones who rescued her. Truthfully, this puts some of Paimon's behavior into perspective. If it's true that she's one of the Moon Sisters, then she would have had to watch her sisters die one by one, losing people she cared deeply for. And that might be why Paimon is so attached to us as the Traveler, and why she grows so concerned and anxious when we're separated or in danger. Another important thing to note about Paimon is that she is affected by the changes in Irminsul. She completely forgot about Scaramouche when he erased himself from Irminsul, suggesting that she is not an outlander from beyond Tevat. So, for a moment, let's look ahead. We know that the people of Nod-Krai will have a connection to the Frost Moon, specifically as the scions of the Frost Moon are said to reside there. We also know that Nod-Krai is collecting ancient moon fragments, which, considering we have now seen beyond the sky of Tevat and know that there are plenty of those fragments to be found, puts that into perspective. Perhaps the goal of Nod-Krai's experiments will be a continuation of what he was doing in Sumeru. Perhaps Nod-Krai is attempting to create a new moon goddess, one under humanity's control. The last line of the prophecy, that we know of right now, is, "From the ashes a new moon approaches." Perhaps instead of working with the Abyss to create the Loom of Fate, Snezhnaya is attempting to create a new moon who can change the fate of Tevat. Perhaps when we go to that area, Paimon will get taken and have what remains of her power taken from her. Or perhaps there's something even more sinister at foot here. Either way, one thing is for certain. Paimon is going to play a very important role in the events to come in Genshin, and as we uncover more about the Song of the Welkin Moon and the prophecy it speaks about, the more light will be shed on that which moves unseen, but inevitable in the moon's shadow. I hope you all liked this video. There's a ton of stuff I didn't cover about the Moon Sisters, like the Spiral Abyss and how they might be connected to Project Stuja. So if you guys want more theory videos or history videos on this topic, let me know and I'll try to make them. Next week I'm planning to drop an updated video on Istaroth and Venti, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Don't forget to like, comment, and share with your friends, so I don't feel like I'm screaming into the void. Also, if you want to appear in the credits of my videos and streams, then please consider joining my Ko-Fi. It's $1 a month for a membership to get your name in the credits. And with that, may the wind bless your travels.